Hi guys, it's Ben from Boost Fitness here. I was going to get changed into my Boost Fitness top, decided not to because I'm very tired. I've just literally just walked in the door from my 50,000 steps in a day challenge. I've just managed the 50,000 step challenge successfully. I do have evidence on my watch as I did last time. I'll show you that for proof. As you can see there, 50,120 steps. This took me from 7:15 p.m. I actually woke up at 6 and had a Friday sandwich for breakfast, had lots of other bits and pieces, a milkshake, and I had some ice cream and lots of extra kind of calories to kind of sort of load up on some fats and some carbohydrates to help me fuel throughout the day. I did this obviously from 6 to around 6:30. I then started to get prepared, obviously got some spare socks ready, set out all my snacks and what have you, and I had some flapjacks during it and various other bits and pieces. And then at 7 o'clock on the dot, I left the house and started Pacer app timer on my iPad. I also then proceeded to start the step counter on the watch I was showing you, the Garmin Forerunner 645. And I continued to walk from 7:15 until about until I'd completed 15,000 steps. That was around 10ish, I believe. And at that point, I stopped for around 10 minutes to go to the toilet and to have half of a 400-calorie Tesco flapjack. I then proceeded, did another 20,000 steps, to take me to 35,000 steps. I then stopped for half an hour for lunch. This was 12:30 to 1 p.m. I then resumed at 1 p.m. and continued walking for the last, 2.25 hours or so, till 3:15 to complete the challenge in around 8.5 hours tops. A bit less perhaps than 8.5 hours. So I'm quite happy with that overall. I'm very pleased obviously to have completed the challenge. At various times during the challenge, things were particularly difficult. I'm very pleased actually in hindsight that I did plan this time. Last time I sort of just went out for a walk in general. Today I actually stayed at home was the key thing. The NHS message, stay at home. I did stay at home. I literally only walked in my back garden from one side of the patio to the other. Obviously loads of times, probably thousands of times, up and down just on the patio. Obviously that's hard surface, so after a while that does sort of wear out your legs. Last week I didn't stay at home. I walked out and explored sort of the countryside where I knew there wouldn't be many people around, so I was still complying with the social distancing guidelines of the time. So essentially I have complied both times. It's just this time's a bit different because I literally did the whole thing in my back garden. So that essentially was the challenge. And so I'm happy with how it went. In terms of the prep was much better, I was saying, and that's essentially because I planned out my nutrition. I planned out to have that half flapjack when I did. I planned out yesterday. I carb loaded a little bit. I had a few more calories and carbs yesterday. I recorded all that in a food diary, and I probably will produce a video at some stage and upload that to YouTube again, so you can see a more detailed outline of my nutrition in the build up to this challenge. In terms of the difficulties facing me out in the garden, you have insects as one. As it began to heat up, it was about at 7 in the morning where it's quite sort of cold and crisp and what have you. It starts to heat up, the sun comes out, and you end up with loads of buzzy insects sort of in your face every now and again, which was one of the challenges, to avoid wasps and bees and all sorts out there. Another challenge is cats. Obviously cats have been suspected to be potential carriers of the coronavirus. I do have people who live locally to me who do not have confirmed cases but do have symptoms which could be conducive to that particular infection and indicative of that. So therefore, obviously, that if they then pet their animal, then potentially that if they've coughed into their hand by mistake, or when they've coughed, some of the droplets have touched their hand, they then touch the cat, the droplets transfer to the cat. If the cat then touches you, it can then potentially be on you, and then obviously if you happen to accidentally scratch your eye or touch your mouth or what have you, there's a risk essentially that you could potentially contract that disease. Obviously, as we know, worldwide, that's a major issue at the moment. So obviously, you wouldn't want to do that. So avoid the cats was what I was sort of trying to do. Like I said, there was a cat out there, so I was trying to avoid that for that reason. In terms of other hazards, the main one was dehydration. Obviously, it's a warm day today, probably 17, 18 degrees, I believe, in the sun. And the sun was on me within my very short 20 stride each way route. So I was obviously very much trying to stay hydrated in all the breaks that I had, and ensuring that I actually consumed sufficient fluids in the break, so that I wasn't then dehydrated halfway through a sort of walking section of the day. So yeah, dehydration was a major challenge today. In terms of other challenges, boredom, psychological challenges, certainly boredom, because obviously it's the same scenery. I was repetitively walking backwards and forwards for most of the day. That begins sort of okay, tolerable, if slightly dull, and it ends up being you sort of hate the sight of the same walls and corners and what have you that you're walking around. So it becomes a very repetitive experience. So psychologically, that sort of makes you constantly doubt yourself and think, well, why am I actually doing this in the first place? And even more so as your legs sort of begin to fatigue, which they did towards the end, probably because my brain said to my legs that I knew that psychologically I was almost there, so my brain would have said to my legs, actually, you're right, you're almost there, relax, and the legs have listened to that and relaxed, and then suddenly you realise how tired your legs actually are, and the muscles are obviously very fatigued now that I have actually finished. I apologise, I haven't actually worked out the precise calories and bits and pieces like that yet in terms of what I burnt. I did do 50,000 steps, which I believe is around 25 miles, but I will check that, and if that's wrong, I will update that in the description of this video after I've checked that fact. So in terms of that, 25 miles. I'm going to say, based on last time was over 1,000 calories, I believe. So this time, certainly, I would anticipate well over 2,000. But again, that's going to be updated in the description once I have kind of checked a rough estimate. Of course, it's not going to be exact because it's very variable how the human body works, individual to individual, and it's not just about your age. There's so many different variables in terms of metabolic rate, in terms of activity level in general, and what have you that you have to factor in. So essentially, I'm going to just give a sort of approximation for that, which is a realistic kind of guess, if you like, with what that might actually be. So that's that really. So anyway, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. Next week, I may well attempt the 100,000 step challenge. I believe today was testing. It was really challenging in itself, the 50,000 step challenge, so I'm very happy that I achieved that today. Whether or not I will complete the 100,000, I would guess not next week. I'll go for it next week and I'll do my best, but I can't see realistically me completing that in a day, just because in terms of my physical build up, I don't think it's been long enough. Obviously, I've only built up this month really for these walk challenges, so it has been very compact. And normally, obviously, when you train for a particular event and what have you, the ideal that a personal trainer would recommend is around 3 months. So obviously that's a significant kind of jump in terms of where your goal setting should be versus what I've actually done for these particular challenges, which is primarily due perhaps to an abundance of time and obviously wanting to get on with the challenges rather than being patient and following the correct kind of procedures for my body, if you like. But yes, so stay safe, guys, and if you fancy doing something mad in your back garden, at least you're safe out there, like I say, unless you're sort of petting animals that have touched somebody else. So obviously be careful, be mindful of that, and just stay at home as much as you can, stay safe, and I'll catch you soon in another video. Also remember to like and subscribe to my Foods for Fitness YouTube channel. This may well be what you're watching on. If it isn't, I encourage you to go to YouTube channel just to like and subscribe, because it will show this video on my channel, and it just helps my channel really in terms of popularity. It helps encourage me to actually produce more content, to do more physical endurance challenges in future, and obviously hopefully entertain you guys again. So assuming I have actually entertained you today, which obviously that's the hope. Anyway, so yeah, so see you soon. Remember to like and subscribe. And this has been Ben from Food Fitness. And I did do the 50,000 steps in 24 hours challenge today, actually in 8.5 hours. So I'm very, very happy with that. Thanks, guys. Stay safe.